Welcome back to On Air B&B Football with Bryce and Brandon. Brandon and Bryce, thank you for coming back, watching us on YouTube, listening to us on Spotify, whatever you're doing. We appreciate it. Today we're going to be coming at you with the best value picks for fantasy football in every round. So this is according to Sleeper, and we're going to go for the first 10 rounds. This is regular PPR, full PPR. It's not half, not dynasty, nothing special, just regular old fantasy football. Since we're getting started back up into that, before we do this, though, make sure you go ahead and click that like button, hit the subscribe button, do us that favor, and let's go ahead and get into it. So for the first round, pretty simple. I mean, it's simple, but it's also not. It's just in the sense of any of the guys that you pick in this round are going to be a decent value enough. I mean, all these guys are in the first round for a reason. So, I mean, it's guys, you could argue Jamar Chase falling to 6 that's where his ADP is. That could be a good value pick since he's in that top group of CD, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, and Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
And he's just on that back part of that. You could argue that. You could argue the running backs. Whatever you want to argue, it's always a good argument in the first round because all those players are great.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to depend on how your draft goes, who's in your draft, who's a fan of what team. Like, you have Breece Hall there. You have a Jets fan at 2. He might pick Breece Hall at 2. You have a Dolphins fan at 3. He's going to pick Tyreek at 3. Like, it's just going to depend on who's in your league and how that's going to go. But like we were saying with those receivers, you got Tyreek, Amon-Ra, CD. Like, you have all those receivers to pick from. So if you're in the first stretch of that draft, you have a lot of receivers to pick from.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to question here. Don't sweat your pick too much in the first round because you can't really go super wrong there. Since we're not giving you the best value pick for the first round specifically, my favorite I would say is Amon-Ra. I'm really just rolling with Dome Golf and that Lions offense this year, having all those dome games. I think they're gonna go off.
Yeah, I like it. And Amon-Ra is a guy that he could fall for you if you're in the middle of that round. But for me, I think it's Justin Jefferson just for if he's kind of falling a little bit and he's probably still a lot of people's best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you can get Justin Jefferson like 5 or 6, maybe even at 8, like I've kind of said I'm out on Justin Jefferson for the first half of the first round this year just because of the quarterback situation. But if I was 8 to 12 and I can get Justin Jefferson, I'm gonna
if he falls there.
Yeah, like I for sure.
Yeah, don't mind that at all. For round 2 though, we have Derrick Henry. So we agreed that this is a pretty easy take for the second round is because you saw running backs like Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins succeed in that Ravens offense and get a lot of touchdowns. So imagine what can happen when you bring Derrick Henry in, a tank like that, and put him behind a good O-line. And another thing I was looking into is a lot of Derrick Henry's fantasy success has correlated to wins and losses for the team itself. So, the Ravens being a winning franchise can have a positive impact on Derrick Henry's fantasy output for the season. When they win, he has a good game. When they lose, he has rough games. But Ravens don't seem to do a whole lot of losing. So Derrick Henry being drafted 23rd overall and as the RB9, I'd definitely take that shot every time.
Yeah, for sure. You nailed all of that there. So you get Derrick Henry later in that round 2. That's where you can get him. Like we said, there could be a guy that gets him earlier, but it's looking like he's later in that second round. So, like we were saying, you go and get that wide receiver in the first round, and then you can come around and get a guy like Derrick Henry later in the second. So that could be a very good way to start your fantasy team right there.
Absolutely. You can go double running back, double receiver, however you want to do it. Doesn't matter. But Derrick Henry is the best pick in the second round. But third round, we chose Deebo Samuel. Deebo is the wide receiver 17 and the 33rd ranked overall. So with that, I mean, it seems pretty simple because Deebo alone, we've come strong onto him in this offseason where even with Ayuk there and all those weapons there, Deebo's production has been very solid over the years. And then not to mention if Ayuk leaves, that really upgrades Deebo's production because it's not like you're taking away the weapons for him. Like, there's still Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and Ricky Pearsall to take some attention off of Deebo.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're getting rid of every piece to, focus everything on Debo. So I still like his fantasy production a lot this year in the third.
Yeah, I do like Debo. He's always been like hot and cold for me. So like I've had him, and he'll have his 30-point games, and then there's weeks he won't touch the football.
Yep.
So it can be hot and cold for Debo. Christian McCaffrey is there, like you said, he's going to be the main focal point of that offense, and you do have other weapons. But Debo's very unique. He's a utility guy. He'll run a little bit. He'll have his big games for you for sure. And they're not just going to be like they're going to be 30 plus games.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's boom or bust a lot of the times, but he can also be consistent. So that's why we love Debo in the third. In the fourth round, we have a little bit of mixture. I wanted to say DK, he wanted to say Cooper, but we both like both of them. They're both two best picks in the fourth round.
Yeah.
So DK Metcalf being drafted 43rd overall as the wide receiver 23. It's Ryan Grubb coming over to the Seahawks from Washington, and he has that high-flying offense, and I just think that Geno's going to be slinging that thing, and he's going to spread the ball out. JSN, Tyler Lockett, and DK, of course. I think DK might actually have his best fantasy season just based off of how this offense is going to be run. It's going to be a lot of different looks than what we've seen in the past with Shane Waldron. So give me DK there. You can say your piece on Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, yes. Cooper Kupp's the wide receiver 21. I mean, his ADP's at 40. Yeah. His ADP's at 40. So he's a spot, 3 spots ahead of
2 spots ahead of DK.
2 spots ahead of DK. So I like Cooper Kupp better. I've said my piece on Cooper Kupp. He's still one of the best receivers in the league, in my opinion. So Cooper Kupp down there in the fourth round, I think is a huge steal, especially if you can get some great running backs early in this draft, and you can go around and draft the number 1 receiver like Cooper Kupp.
Right.
So I love that in the fourth round. I'm definitely gonna.
I like Cooper Kupp there, and I think honestly I would probably go with you, and I would say Cooper Kupp over DK at first as well. It's just okay. What if you're in the first round and you draft Puka? You really want to stack your team in the first 4 rounds with 2 Rams players. So, and maybe
if you do that,
it's all about team build.
Yeah.
So
there's 3 Rams players in the first 4 rounds, so you got to be careful there a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, either way though, with either of these receivers, whichever way you go, they're still a really good value. So don't be upset if you miss out on one of them. The 5th round, we chose the one and only George Pickens.
I didn't. He said him.
I did. I did. Super in on George Pickens this year. Honestly, even if IU comes over, yes, it scares me a little bit, but I'm still going to be pretty high on him just because there is a ton of vacated targets over in Pittsburgh. And for George Pickens to be drafted 55th overall and as the wide receiver 27, I think that is just insane value. For him to be dropping into the 5th round as the wide receiver 1 when he's shown the insane talent that he has in the past, I think that you can't really pass up on that.
Yeah. There's some receivers that you could also pick over Pickens. There's like T. Higgins, and there's Keenan Allen and Zay Flowers and those guys that are going to be around that area. But with Pickens, you're kind of playing with the upside. Like, of course, you have T. Higgins and what he's done, but you could pick Pickens and he could be even better.
Right.
That's kind of what you're basing that off of. That's kind of why we're we're both high on him this year, and we think he's the number 1 receiver there. You pick T. Higgins, he's a number 2 receiver.
Right.
So you're picking a number 1 receiver in the 5th round.
Right. And then like you said, I mean the talent too is just, I mean, don't discount that at all. So in the 6th round, we have Dak Prescott and David Montgomery. So we wanted to give you a little bit of a shake-up here. Quarterback and running back. Dak is going as the QB8 at pick 72. So a quarterback like that, who I think if you averaged out his numbers after the bye week last year, where they finally started throwing the ball a lot to CD in the heavy volume, that he finished as a top. I think it was finished as a top 3, maybe even maybe even the number 1 quarterback overall. I can't remember exactly, but either way, his production was insane when they finally did do that whole new offense where they start chucking the ball to CD.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're going to go do this year.
I don't have a running game.
Rico. So Dak is pretty promising there. What do you think about David Montgomery?
So Dave Montgomery, I like the pick there. I liked his chances for goal line carries, especially getting touchdowns.
Yeah.
But it's not even that though. He had one of the highest yards per carry last year.
Right.
So he's gonna produce. He's gonna show that too, that he doesn't want he's not just gonna go away with Gibbs there. So
Right.
it's but in the 6th round, Montgomery there, he's still gonna be very, very good this year, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially, there's little talks of Gibbs getting hurt right now. I think David Montgomery is also one of those players that people like Gibbs so much that he might even fall a little bit further.
Yeah.
So Montgomery is being drafted 66 overall and has the RB21. So, you either select David Montgomery as RB21 or you go for Gibbs at RB3.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, pretty big gap. I mean, I'm not saying don't draft Gibbs. I'm just saying Montgomery is an insane value back there in the 6th round.
Yeah, and with Dak too, like with one of you're making with Dak, like that offense, the passing volume they're gonna do again, it's crazy. I really like Dak there. Like if you can fill up your roster with running backs and receivers through the first 5 rounds, then you can go get Dak and you're gonna get 20 to 30 points a game.
And that's exactly what I like doing this year,
Yeah.
especially since, you got quarterbacks like Dak, and then into round 7, what we're about to go on to next is Kyler Murray. So, I mean, Dak being drafted as the QB8, Kyler Murray is the QB9, and he's being drafted at 80 overall. I think this is probably one of my favorite picks in all of fantasy this year.
Yeah.
For a running quarterback who can have that throwing ability, especially you saw with when he was healthy with D-Hop in that offense,
Yep.
he had a true wide receiver 1. He can chuck the ball and he can run it. That's exactly what you want in fantasy, and Kyler Murray is going to get that done for you in the 7th round.
Yeah, I really like that pick. I know you would like that probably even better than the Dak one.
Absolutely.
But Dak's
I
there.
still like Dak.
Yeah. And honestly, there might be people that are going to probably push for Kyler more than they would for Dak. They might push up the draft a little bit, but I mean,
Don't talk about it.
sorry. I'm going to hurt your drafts. But I mean, I would probably choose Kyler over Dak just for the running ability too, but I really like that they added Marvin Harrison for him. They got Trey McBride back there. James Conner is also a reliable back for them also, and then you add Trey Benson to help out also back there. So I really like that offense. I like the way the direction they're headed, and I know you really do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, for sure. That's probably the easiest one. We'll move on to round 8. You got Jake Ferguson, another pretty easy one though.
Give you a tight end.
He's the second target in that offense.
Mm-hmm. We just mentioned Dak. Go turn around and go get Jake Ferguson.
Exactly.
There you go.
Dak's not going to be throwing a whole lot to Brandon Cooks. We all know that regardless of, CD waiting for his contract right now, he's going to get paid at some point, and he's going to play for the Cowboys, and so is Dak. Mm-hmm. And Dak's going to be throwing a lot to CD, but when he doesn't, he's going to be throwing to Jake Ferguson. And last year, 7 touchdowns for Jake Ferguson, and he really didn't come on until,
later, yeah.
Week 7, after the Week 7 bye, where he really hit his stride. So I think a full season with that as, basically the second target in that offense, I think he's going to have a really good fantasy season. He could finish as, he's being drafted right now as the tight end 11, which is completely insane. I think he could finish upwards of tight end 6, tight end, maybe even make his way into the top 5. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I really like his value there. Like I said, go get Dak. If you can get Dak and you can stack Jake Ferguson with him in that offense that just has CeeDee Lamb to throw to, like that's a perfect situation to be in.
Right, and like we mentioned, Dak 2 rounds ago, and now Ferguson here, he emphasized the stack. Well, also, I mean, if you miss out on that CeeDee Lamb stack in the 1st round because you have to have the 2nd pick, 3rd pick to get him, then you can easily go wait till the 8th and 10th round to go ahead and get Dak and Jake Ferguson's. In the 9th round, we have Jackson Smith and Jigba, and according to Bryce, David Singletary.
Shut up.
So, I mean,
right, David Singletary, Devin.
I know you wrote it, but we talked about it a little bit before. Anyways, so I say Devin Singletary. He says JSN. JSN's not a bad pick, and he doesn't disagree about David Singletary either. So I'll make my case for Devin Singletary is the fact that being drafted as the RB33 and at overall 100th, So I think he's still a starting running back. And yes, he has the chance of losing his job if Tyrone Tracy or one of those guys in the backfield happens to come up and take it from him, or somebody gets hurt in training camp
Yeah.
and, whatever. They go get somebody else. But I think Devin Singletary, he showed you consistency last year in Houston when he had the chance. After he took that role from Dameon Pierce completely, he really capitalized with it, and that's why he got this starting job in New York. And yes, the offense is going to look a lot different over in New York than it did last year with Saquon. But remember, you can see Devin Singletary just have consistent weeks and occasionally have like a big week here and there. So
Yeah. I I did like his I like how in the ninth round you can get an RB1.
right,
So that's great, and that could be a perfect flex spot
right.
for your team. So I really like that value there.
And if you wait like you get one or two running backs, or maybe you get none up until this point,
Hmm.
maybe you go ahead and get Devin Singletary there for your RB2 or
Yeah.
RB3 maybe. So
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, JSN's ADP at 99, one spot above Mr. David Singletary
that's who he will be called from here
for
on.
the rest of our lives. But he's the wide receiver 45, which he is. Don't know where he stacks up in an offense. I don't know if he's gonna play. He played in the slot a good bit last year. I don't know if he's gonna be put on the outside this year. I'm not sure yet. I really like JSN talent wise. I think he can be really good. I believe he'll be the number 2 receiver in that offense by the end of the season. I really like him in a flex spot too. With Tyler Lockett, I think his targets are gonna get a little. They're still going to be a little wobbly until the Seahawks move off from Tyler Lockett. But
Right. And I mean, Tyler Lockett's he's even further back on the board
yeah,
than
I think he's one.
just outside of round 10.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think when you compare those two talents, it's really, you're going with the younger version and who you're expecting them to look towards for the future.
Mm.
I think JSN actually does take over that role by the end of the year, but I do think they want to keep Tyler Lockett included, especially with how you can just chuck it to him and then he just gets down.
Mhm.
But JSN is a very good pick. Like I said, the Ryan Grubb offense coming into Seattle is going to be a very high flying one. And, you're going to see the running backs use more, and you're going to see all the receivers use more. Like you saw them use Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, and Roma Dunze. They had 3 options over in Washington. And yes, that's a college offense. This is an NFL offense now, but it's DK, Tyler Lockett, and JSN. So I think that that's very viable, and it could actually happen. So
Yeah.
you could see all 3 of them be pretty successful for fantasy this year. And last but not least is the 10th round. We have Jared Goff, and then we got Jaden Daniels. So I love Jared Goff, and I agree completely with Bryce on saying Jared Goff here, but I chose Jaden Daniels to add to the mix as well because he is a rookie quarterback, yes, but he also has that rushing upside. He won the Heisman last year for a reason, and you've seen the arm already in preseason week 1, and now he's got the weapon of Terry McLaurin and hopefully Jahan Dotson. Not the best core, but he still has something to work with. And the rushing upside can really make him capitalize on his fantasy draft capital, where he's being drafted as a QB 15 and 116 overall. I think that's an insane, you can get him as your QB 1, and maybe you already have your QB 1 and you just want him as a QB 2. Either way, it's a great pick in the 10th round.
Jaden Daniels is a good pick there. I feel like I don't know if I don't think I would take him as my quarterback 1 this year, but maybe take him and have him for quarterback 2 in case he does show some promise this year. I like him if my starting quarterback maybe goes down in the season and I can put him in there, or if you get like a Terry McLaurin somewhere in the draft and you can stack him with Jaden Daniels, but we'll have to see. But then we move on to Dome Golf.
Dome Golf.
Enough said. That's all you gotta say.
Well,
I'm just kidding. But Dome Golf is the QB 14, and ADP is set at 110. Which, if you can go get Amon-Ra in the first round, and you can wait this long to get Dome Golf, perfect. There you go. I mean, you can fill in you can get Sam Laporta, stack them. You can do anything with Dome Golf. Dome Golf's gonna do it for your team.
Yeah, we've mentioned it 1,000 times that 13 of his first 14 games are indoors. They're in a dome golf, hence the name.
We're gonna
But
have a banner.
maybe we should get one.
Maybe
Leave in the comments if we should get a banner saying dome golf.
some golf.
Anyways, but yeah, I mean, you got options here too. Jamison Williams is also being drafted right around him. You can go grab him to stack with if he falls a little bit, or maybe it's just far enough away. Either way, you got Sam Laporta. You got plenty of options to stack with Jared Goff, and he's being drafted in the 10th round. That's the best thing about it. Is yes, if you want Jared Goff as your QB2, all the better. But he's a great QB1 as well, and at great value. So love the pick there. You got anything else to add, Bryce?
Nope.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, whatever you're doing. We highly, highly, highly appreciate it. Leave in the comments what you thought of his videos. Is there any other value picks that you guys would argue, or throughout any of the rounds? Is there a specific guy in round one? Let us know what you think. Did we get anything wrong? Whatever it is. But before we get out of here, please help us reach our goal where we want to talk to you, the fans, the players, and the coaches. And we want to be able to bring y'all better content by, coming to the stadiums, doing all that stuff, tailgating and having fun while doing it. So we can't do that without y'all's help. So if you would do us a favor and click the like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you share with everybody you know, whether they like football or not, because they're going to like Dome Golf, okay? Everybody's going to love Dome Golf this year. Leave in the comments what you think. Let us know what you'd like to see for future videos, and peace out.